My name is Mara-Joanne, also known as Belle La Poet. I'm passionate about poetry. I have my first poetry book that just came out this week. I compete in poetry competitions. I write. I'm a dancer, a choreographer. I direct my own short stories and also videos, music videos. I'm a writer, songwriter, and also I am an author. And last but not least, a nurse. But I'm just a passionate person. Like, I'm just an artistic person. So all of it is a different component of me, myself. So whatever it is I'm thinking, or it feels like I'm about to put out into writing what's sitting in the treasure box of my mind. Was talking to someone, a friend, and I was like, hey, what you think about this? You know, I was just starting in the poetry game. And he was like, it's not that good. I feel like I wrote it for every girl who's questioning. Like, I used to be like, why did God hate me that he made me black? And even worse, I was like, and even worse, Haitian. And like, the moment where I realized the darkness, the depression, the anxiety, the moment I was like, all right, this is real. I'm in a dark hole and I don't feel like I could get out. Not this time. I used to be very suicidal. And to be suicidal doesn't mean you're gonna commit suicide. Being suicidal can also be just obsessed with the thought of dying, the thought of either killing yourself or the thought of simply dying. You get what I'm saying? So I used to like, the world would be better without me.
How's it going, powerful people? My name is Edouard Gilles, and you're tuning in to yet another episode of the Unlimited Power Show. This show is all about growth in all aspects of your life. So how do we do that? We bring you people from all different walks of life to talk about their journey, their lessons, and their passions. This is a show fueled by passion. I'm sitting here with Mara-Joanne, and she's going to introduce herself to you. Introduce herself and tell you what she's passionate about, what she cares about, and what she does. So, Mara,
Yes.
How you doing?
I am well and happy to be here. I'm blessed. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. So, you traveled to be here. What were you doing earlier today?
Well, I drove from Orlando to Fort Pierce for a book reading event for my book that is sitting right here, My Black is Beautiful. And also, then I drove here. So I'm here.
So, Mara, why don't you tell us what you're all about? Why don't you give us an introduction about you, what you're passionate about, and what you do?
Okay, so my name is Mara-Joanne, also known as Belle La Poet. I'm also a poet, so we're gonna throw that one right out the way. Okay. I'm passionate about poetry. I have my first poetry book that just came out this week, which we can talk about later on. I compete in poetry competitions. I write. I'm a dancer, a choreographer. I got my dance degree from Barry. I also am a director. I direct my own short stories and also videos, music videos. I'm a writer, songwriter, and also I am an author. And last but not least, a nurse.
Okay. So you do a lot of different things. What is your main passion?
Okay, my main passion. Ooh, that's a tough one. All of it. I'm just a passionate person. Like, I'm just an artistic person. So all of it is a different component of me, myself. So to be honest, all of it.
So you're a passionate person. You have a lot of different things that you express your passion to. Like, when you was a kid, were you always this talented? Or, how did your story go as a kid?
Yeah. As a kid, I loved to read and write. And then, in Florida, there's this thing that they set up known as the FCAT. I think it has a different name now. But during 4th grade, I believe they get you ready for the writing FCAT. So we started going more into writing essays or writing longer stories or whatever the case may be. And then so our teacher was getting us ready for the writing FCAT, and I would write and write and write, and then I just always would go up to her and be like, how do you spell blah, blah, blah? Because, at that point, it's like I knew the words I wanted to use, but I didn't know how to spell them because I just was not at that level, to understand how to spell them. And then she was just so impressed. She was like, how do you even know that word? Like, she just couldn't wrap her head around it. But I wrote my essay, and then FCAT came along, did my essay, and then I had the highest score. I got the highest score, yeah.
You got the highest score on the FCAT?
Yeah.
That's what's up.
The writing FCAT.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I mean, do you think those tests were matching up to your level of, do you think they were challenging enough for you?
I mean, when you think of tests, you think of a challenge until you actually get there. But once I got there, it was like, you know what? I love to write, so go ahead, throw it at me. I'd rather an essay over an exam any day, to be honest, because I love to write. So
you love to write. What's that feeling you get when you're sitting down on your computer and you're about to type something? I mean, how do you feel inside?
I feel like I'm about to release.
About to release what?
Release whatever it is I'm feeling or whatever it is I'm thinking, or it feels like I'm about to put out into writing what's sitting in the treasure box of my mind. Yeah, because like in writing and creating stories and plots and all of this, it started, while I was young, because when I was a little girl, I would play with my dolls. I had like thousands of dolls, and I used to sit and play with them for hours because my older brother and the other kids, they'll hog the remote. So I was like, you know what, whatever, I'm not even about to fight. So I'll just go create my own little show in my room. Like, it used to go down. I would create the story, create where they lived, how they lived, or, just making stories for the dolls. And then.
And what age is this?
I was in elementary, so like maybe 3rd grade. So that's probably 8 years old or 7. But ever since I was young, I always had dolls from daycare growing all the way up. Finally, when I got to middle school, I was like, all right, like, sorry guys, I got homework to do. Kind of like Toy Story. I'm like, all right, I got grown people middle school stuff to do. I can't be playing with dolls anymore. So that's kind of where the whole playing and the whole imagination thing kind of stopped. But then it continued with writing assignments or with writing or just writing in my diary.
So writing has always been a significant part. And you said that from the treasure chest of your mind.
Yes, because there's a lot that goes on in there. So, once I get to release it, it's like, whew, I could breathe.
So it's like your work is a form of release. So would you say that this book that you wrote there, does this have anything to do with your childhood self? Did you think you wrote that book for yourself, or you wrote it how you felt? I mean, what was the reason of you writing the first book? The
first book, My Black is Beautiful, definitely. If I was a little girl and I was given this book, I feel like it could have helped with a lot. Because growing up, now being Black is being more of a good thing than it was versus back then when we were growing up. Like, I didn't see people with like their natural hair or like dark girls. I didn't see them in movies or commercials. I always saw either mixed people. That was the blackest it got. Like, that's just what it is in commercials.
Like Pocahontas.
And everything, yeah, that was the blackest it got. It was the lighter people or the curly, coily. My hair don't do that. Like, that's just not my hair. It doesn't do that. So I feel like I wrote it for every girl who's questioning. Like, I used to be like, why did God hate me that he made me Black? And even worse, I was like, and even worse, Haitian. Why would God hate me to make, I don't know. I just felt like maybe God favored people who had straighter hair, more curlier hair, or, you get what I'm saying? I was like, I don't get why God hates us like that he would do that. But then it's like, why? Now, the biggest question for me is, why was that my thought process at 7, 8, 9 years old? Why was I questioning my self-worth, my self-acceptance to that extreme, to the point where I had to question my whole existence, thinking that, you know, a greater power hated me and cursed me? But then when you think about it, being black is not a curse. It's actually a blessing. Like, we absorb sunlight. You know, we're light filled. So it's like, why? That was my biggest question. Now that I'm older and I'm happy, you know, we're seeing more black. And I hope that's a trend that keeps going. I hope that we stay on the cover of magazines, you know, like, and I believe in equality. Yeah, people who are lighter do live in America, but then again, there's also black people who live in America, and we need to be seeing everything. Like, it's not just one-sided. And I love the movement that's going on, where we're becoming more aware of how being black is. Back in the day, like, you would call somebody, man, you dark. Like, you know, you'll cuss somebody. That was a curse word. Like,
you black. And you feel so bad about it.
You blacker than black. Like, or don't make the black jokes, and that was just devastating.
She's like, I don't want to be black. Like, I remember I used to run a lot, so I'd be in the sun, and I get that sun black.
Yeah.
That sun blackness, and somebody'd be like, damn, boy, you got black hell.
Exactly. Like, why are we teaching our kids to stay out in the sun?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's ingrained in the culture too. Because I remember my mom, she used to use a lot of soaps that makes her lighter, and I always wondered.
That's
even now I get really mad. Not mad, but I'd be like, Mom, because I'm like, I don't trust these soaps, what they're doing to your skin. I don't know how it's relatable to cancer. So I'm like, Mom, you can't be using this skin. You're already beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's like finding that inner beauty, you know, it's like finding that inner peace within you. You know, the thing is, what you're saying about hair, now you mentioned that her hair is as curly and as soft as a lamb's wool. Mm-hmm. You know, another thing in the Bible, it expresses Jesus' feet being burnt, and also something about wool, I believe. Mm-hmm. So there's it's putting that beauty in what we already are, what we already have inside of us, you know, outside of us.
It's just shifting the perspective.
And you believe that these books can actually start shifting that narrative.
Oh yes, for sure. My favorite is when little girls, they get the book, like at a book signing, book reading, whatever it may be, and they're like, I look like her. That's my favorite thing to hear. When the little girls look at Princess Belle and they're like, she looks like me. She looks like me. And I don't know, that's just the most deep it could get. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like I see myself on the cover of something, you know, and I want that movement to continue. Like, imagine how many young black girls are questioning themselves right now. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault, and especially back when we were younger. I mean, we're not that old, you know, but at the same time, you know, it was a little bit different when we were kids. It was different, you know? And even Keke Palmer talks about it. She was like, yeah, you wouldn't see a girl like me really in the movies. And she even speaks about it in her interview, I believe she did with Charlemagne the God on The Breakfast Club. So, you know, it's like, it was different back in the day, but now things are changing, and I want the movement to continue. So that's the whole point of the book. Like, we got to keep fueling it. You know, we can't let the fire go out on black being beautiful.
So, I mean, how did you start to recognize your self-worth? Like, what was that process of self-discovery when you started to realize? Because you shift your mindset. When did you start to realize?
I looked in the mirror and I was like, girl, no. When did I start to shift? I don't know. It just kind of happened where I started noticing different features of me. I was like, dang, I like my eyes. They kind of nice. Then I went to, and a lot of people complimented my skin too. So it was kind of like an outward and inward thing, like outward contribution and inward contribution. So people were like, your skin looks very soft, or people would like accidentally touch me. They're like, whoa, your skin is super soft. Like, or someone will.
It's soft.
That's what they say. So I don't know. I can't argue with them. And then people just kept commenting on stuff like, which made me feel beautiful. And it wasn't just people, it was white girls. White girls were like, you're beautiful, you're so sweet. And then that's another thing that Belle goes through in the book. She's crying because she doesn't feel like she meets up to these girls' beauty. And then it's the girls who actually contribute to her having a greater value of self-esteem. Because they're like, I like your hair, I like this, I like that, and it was that extrinsic value that was contributed into her life, which made her even like, all right, you know what? Maybe I am beautiful. Maybe I do belong at this tea party, which is held in my country, which is crazy, So I believe it started shifting after the comments, and then after I started just looking in the mirror like, damn, I actually am beautiful,
So you got that reinforcement kind of allowed you to build up your self-confidence.
Yes.
And then start to do, a lot of these things you're doing now, when did you start to believe that you can make these come into fruition? When did that sense of belief come for you?
Like
what age?
Making the book?
Like writing the book, or I know you've been dancing for a long time.
Yeah, I've been dancing for years. For years, I took dancing like more serious when I went into college because I got a dance scholarship. And then from there is when I took my first ballet class. I had my first ballet class at 18, and I felt horrible. I was horrible. It was like, just throw me in the trash, But now that I grew from it, and I'm not taking ballet right now, but I feel like ballet taught me a lot in life. Like, it helped me to have structure, discipline, So I feel like that contributed to it. And also from another aspect of life, where I started and I was like, all right, let's get some books started, is I always did poetry. So poetry gets all the props, because poetry is where it kind of started. I used poetry to express myself because it was kind of hard to express myself what I was feeling. I feel like when I was younger growing up, I had a lot of anger issues I was dealing with, especially growing up in a domestically violent home. Like, it's like some things you just can't talk about, or you don't know how to talk about. You don't even know if it's normal. It's like a lot of the questions that go on. So it's hard. And even now as a woman, like I still explain to people like, hey, it's a little hard for me to express myself. It's a little hard to really let you know, but it's something I'm continuing to work on. But poetry, I let it all out. And the best feeling I ever got in poetry is I'll be up on stage talking about the deepest thing that was happening in my life and no one knew, but at the same time I expressed it to everyone. So it was kind of like a win-win. The audience enjoys it, I get to express myself. So then I wrote the poem, My Black is Beautiful. And a lesson I learned from that, when I first wrote it, I was talking to someone, a friend, and I was like, hey, what you think about this? I was just starting in the poetry game. And he was like, it's not that good. That's what he said to me. I was like, okay. He was like, yeah, it's not that good. I don't really remember the full detail that he had for me, but basically he was saying like, it wasn't that good. It's not really gonna go far. And then I was like, all right, you take the good, you leave the bad, basically. So I started performing it. That was my #1 poem that everyone who booked me requested. That poem that, imagine if I crumpled up and threw it away, And not only that, but it led a path and made a way for a whole book to be written. You get what I'm saying? The book is basically the children's version of the poem, My Black is Beautiful. Because I was like, how can I write this? Because, this is for women, but how can I write it for children to understand? How can I write it in the language of a child? So then I went ahead and I, took the words and just made it into a story. I just made it into a story. I was like, where do I want her to live? What kind of life do I want her to have? She's royalty. She lives at Palais Sans Souci in Haiti, embracing Haiti's culture and history. So, it's a big highlight.
So, the first thing you wanted to do, the first poem, I guess this poem, My Black is Beautiful, so many self-doubt, and you did it anyways. You went past that, and it turned out to be, that's like the rhetoric of so many success stories.
Yep.
People thought this was horrible, it got denied, and it turned out it was really great. Yep. It's just that the person who's behind it had to have that sense of belief in it so much.
Imagine if I took the opinion of one person.
Yeah.
Just imagine. Just like I was listening to a sermon, I believe. He was like, that's why sometimes when you're talking about your dreams and stuff, God approves you in private. Because once you go on social media or whatever, and you're like, oh, I'm about to start blah, 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 that's when people start drowning your dreams. That's when they start, bashing it and hitting it. And then you're like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't even. So I just think to myself, what if I threw this poem away?
Oh. You'd have thrown so many of those hidden treasures within you. Every time you throw something you've invested your soul into, you're throwing away part of your own inner hidden treasure, and you're diminishing some of that treasure because you're more reluctant to want to let me do something else. And you think, oh, somebody's going to say it's not good enough, they're going to deny it, and you just never do it, So they say there's this one quote it's like to put anything else out is to risk to lose it. So to speak is to risk to lose. Everything that you express is to risk to lose that idea. But if you really keep it, then it's something you can never truly lose.
Nurture it like a seed, basically.
So I know you're Haitian, right? And you're also a nurse. Right? So
I feel like I know where this question is going.
So you fit right into the stereotype. But however, you're not just a nurse. You're an author, you're a poet, you're a dancer, you're an artist. Yeah. Pretty much you're an artist that express in different formats. So, why is it that nursing is still part of your profession when you have so many other passions?
Listen.
Tell me, where did that
even my coworkers at work be like, what are you doing here? And I look at them like, I don't know. So basically, let me get to the knit grit of this. The knit grit.
Exactly.
Okay, so basically, going in school, I was like, okay, what do I want to do? And I love science. Even though I'm into the arts, I love science. And I've always wanted to be a travel nurse. I wanted to change the world, basically. I wanted to bring help and aid into, underserved populations, community, countries, especially going to Haiti. Since I was young, I would see, how some of the people were living over there. And then, so that definitely influenced my decision for what I want to do. So that's why I became a nurse. Because it's like, I love people and I love seeing people get better. Now, does it have its challenges? Yes, it does. It does have its challenges, dealing with people and this and that. But I think the best thing that I get from when I'm caring for a patient or whatever is coming back the next day and seeing them better. It does something in me I can't even explain to you. But even though I'm so artistic, it's still that other passion too, helping someone, just helping someone, to get better. And when I was younger, I would always be sick. I used to miss out on a lot of school. And I just had a weak stomach. My stomach couldn't hold anything, always throwing up. I thank God for my parents, but every time I called, they had to come pick me up. And it came to a point in high school, I think one year I missed a whole total of 55 days or something like that. I don't remember, but it was a lot of days. So, and I know what it feels like to be sick. I know what it feels like to need. I know what it feels like to be helpless in a sense. So I think that fueled me wanting to become a nurse. And, it has its challenges, it does, but at the same time, it's rewarding too. And then a lot of people are like, but you're so artistic, what happened? Or one thing I told myself, but now I'm kind of taking it back. I used to tell myself I don't want to be a struggling artist. That's kind of another reason why I was like, all right, nursing is plan A. And now I'm actually doing nursing. I'm like, yo, in real life, nursing is starting to become plan A because it's requiring so much of me that it's leaving plan B, a little, it's, yeah, on the back burner. So I was like, okay, this needs to stop. I need to find a balance. So right now in my life is about finding that balance. Like, it's like, some poetry slams or some open mic will be going down and it's like, damn, I'm at work. So now it's like, I told myself I don't want to be a struggling artist and nursing is plan A, but now it's like real life. So now it's to the point, it's like, okay, what you about to do about it? You get what I'm saying? But the whole nursing thing, you said because you're Haitian. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, being Haitian did kind of fuel it in my life too. It's so many different factors that contribute to it. Yeah. But I remember when I got that dance scholarship, I was so happy. Oh my God, it was like the best day of my life. Cause I went to that audition and I was like, you might as well just throw me away, basically. Just throw the whole person away. I was bad, but thank God for my dance instructor. And she knows, I tell her, cause I'm like, listen, when I first got here, I was like, oh my God. But it allowed me to grow into my purpose and what I was supposed to do. But the whole nursing thing, after I told my dad, I was like, hey, Daddy, ukone yo bomo scholarship. I got a scholarship for dance, excited, like, hey, it's about to go down. He was like, who does? I was like, yeah, ukone lipo paye ukone pour nursing na. And then he was like, oh, okay, la paye pour nursing na. Like, basically, he was saying, like, I told him it's a scholarship, and even though I'm dancing, it pays for my academics. It pays for whatever I want to be. And I told him it's going to pay for me to do nursing. He was like, oh, for nursing. Okay, I feel you. Well, congrats. But if it was for, like, me just saying, yeah, I want to dance, it would have been like, what? Right, yeah. And another thing, when I was in high school, the what do you call the director maybe of the dance team, I was like, yeah, I want to do dance and whatever. She's like, dance? You're too smart for that. That's what she said to me. And now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, what does that mean? I mean, it's a compliment, but it's like, you get what I'm saying? It's like, I am smart and I can be whatever I put my mind to, but it's like, I don't know. That just made me question the whole dance thing.
I mean, dancing itself, that's a different intelligence.
It is.
You have physical intelligence. Your body could have its own intelligence. Yeah, like athletes have a physical intelligence. Same thing. My teacher was telling me, like, when I was in science class, this teacher told me, yeah, your strong point was your physical intelligence or something like that. It was like, you'd probably be better at this area. And she was kind of slightly saying that my academics...
wasn't cutting it for her class.
For her class, because I wasn't that great of a science guy. Mm-hmm. But I graduated 5.2, top of my class. That's what I'm saying, like... Summa cum laude. And... it was like sometimes people will start to judge what you're doing off their own limiting beliefs.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And surpassing those beliefs, you have to find that self-worth within yourself. Like you said, I told my father I had a show on TV, but he wasn't that ecstatic about it.
Oh, so it's
No, he was like, it's not going to last long. So it's really all about you finding a purpose. And then eventually you will find the ways to merge your different purposes with your profession.
To merge it, my end game right now, for sure, is dance therapy. And people are like, dance therapy? I never heard of it. But dance therapy is real. It's basically, and I hope it's something that becomes more well-known. It's basically like music therapy, or, you sitting here speaking to a therapist, but instead of you using words, you're going through it with dance. Like, one thing I can always say till this day is dancing saved my life. Like, cause some days were hard, but then I'll go to dance and it is just so liberating. I'll forget about everything. So dance was my therapy. And it's funny because until I was dancing, because, you know, I got my dance degree and I was doing all dance classes. It was amazing. It was the best life ever. And then I went into nursing school, and then I was trying to, you know, go to ballet or whatever, and I couldn't because it was so demanding. And so I went through a really rough patch, and that was because I wasn't dancing. What was my therapy session was not in my life anymore. So it was affecting me negatively, very, very bad, until I got to the point where I was like, okay, what is the way that I could balance it? So instead of dancing, I'll go to the gym. Because it's like I could not take a dance class. It was just so demanding. And I didn't realize the importance of dance in my life until it was taken from me. Just like they say, you never know what you have until it's gone. For me, I want to go ahead and do dance therapy. It's something I started when I was in college. I was doing a work study program where they kind of let me do my own thing. Right. So I would go into like nursing homes or whatever and have my own dance therapy program. And when I tell you, at first, the elderly people, they were like stubborn. They didn't really want to do it. They didn't really understand it. And I'm talking about people with dementia, Alzheimer's, you know, participating in this, or people who just have chronic illnesses. And then after a few sessions, one day, I remember this specifically, I walked into the room, you can see their face light up. They probably don't remember me or my name, but they definitely can associate me with the dance therapy they've been receiving. And as soon as I walk into the room, what? They got so happy and lit. It's like something I can't even explain because I was shocked. I was like, I'm here working with people who probably won't even remember my name in the next 5 minutes. But once I walked into that room, they knew what time it was. They already knew and then this one time, this woman, we were doing therapy sessions. She was like, you know, I don't really do this at home because it was an elderly daycare. She was like, I don't really do this at home. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Well, why don't you really do it at home? You know, trying to figure out her point in the whole, you know, story she was telling me. And she started crying. I was like, it's okay, you're gonna be okay. She was like, this is very nice. I really like to do it, but I don't have anyone at home to do it with me. And that just comes to prove how important that's becoming to her as a person. And she knew she liked it. You get what I'm saying? So, and now this year I started my business, the Boss Residence LLC. And the motto for it is creating bosses for tomorrow. And I am working on starting my own dance therapy sessions where even if I'm not doing it in a specific location, but we go into after school programs, summer programs, or elderly daycares or nursing homes, and we offer dance therapy sessions.
The whole time you were saying this, and I was looking for that reason. So what I discovered about life is that God puts us through paths, and we be like, why am I here? Or you could have stayed in the nursing room. Why am I a nurse? I got all these talents. People ask you, why are you doing nurse?
Everybody asks me that.
Exactly, right? I was asking you that question. I'm wondering, right?
Coworkers ask me that. They're like, when are you leaving?
But you just answered the whole question, and then a aha moment just hit me right there. Therapy.
Yes.
Dance is actual therapy.
It is.
So the movements that you do in ballet and the stuff that I teach in medical Qigong, the same acupuncture meridians that work when you're doing Tai Chi is the same acupuncture meridians that's working when you're doing ballet and dancing. So in doing these very graceful movements and like
you don't
even realize it's all therapy. It's moving that lymphatic.
Your brain is working.
That's therapy.
And we don't realize that. How, just like I said previously, the body is split up into the mind, body, soul, spirit. You know, and once you're doing all of that, you come to the point where you just become in tune with everything. You don't even have to speak. You don't have to express yourself. But after you leave, you feel better.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I feel like your purpose is to mend all those into artsy ways to help people in the hospitals and because the sickness there, and to like put that into your work. That is simply beautiful. You've been blessed.
Yeah, thank God.
I think we're all been blessed, but a lot of us don't recognize that blessing because it can be drowned out by the daily stresses of life, by the pains and agony of your situations. Which is something we was talking about earlier. I mean, what are some dark moments that you had in your life? I mean, you told me some of these beautiful, we talked about these really beautiful, gorgeous moments, but a lot of people don't even see the dark side of it, the pain that paints those poetry that you write. Tell us about that.
A lot of people, they're like, oh, you doing all of this? Or I don't want to say people are hating. I feel like they more so don't understand. Like, people are, you acting different now. I'm like, okay. Like, I don't get to be happy. I'm confused. Like, I don't know. I feel like people, they see you at the top of the hill, but they never see you walking up the hill to get to the top of the hill. So now it's like, they see all of this, all of this, all of this. What they don't know is the missing element, what created all of this. The pain, the agony, the dark moments. And then I love that we're talking about it because I'm going to go ahead and talk about my brand new book, which came out this week. Broken Crayon Still Color, that book has so much of my dark, like, because when people see me, they're like, you're such a happy person. I would never imagine you upset. I would, those are people who don't know me or, associates or whatever. And then, like, sometimes people just like to comment on my happiness. In the back of my head, I'd be like, little do they know what I go through. Like, if I tell them, they're gonna think I'm lying. Like, people be like, oh, you probably had the best life ever. You're so beautiful. Like, people probably really look at me like I have it all, but I'm like, you don't understand. You don't know. It took a lot of crying myself to sleep. It took a lot of questioning who I was, a lot of questioning my self-worth. And even now, like, I'm so scarred by traumatic moments, like, I'm still struggling. And thank God I'm getting a grasp better on things. But it's like, even now, it's still kind of hard because I still have nightmares. Still have nightmares, like, from things years ago. But, and that's every day. Every day is this new battle, I grew up in a domestically violent home. And I don't know why. I feel like that's something maybe a lot in the Haitian culture. I'm not sure, but I can only speak from what I know. You get what I'm saying? So, but it was bad. I mean, I saw some crazy things. And even now, it's like, it's still a process, to even talk about it, or to, sometimes I sit back and I look at my life. I'm like, look at my life. Like, I'm looking at my life like, this is horrible. And people are like looking at my life like, you had the best life ever. So it's like, I mean, the darkness is real.
From the outside looking in, you look amazing. But when you look inside and you're looking outside, comparing your results, you're like, things not matching that inside is really has that all those anxiety, stress, depressive state, and these things, obstructing your full capacity to express your soul.
And like, the moment where I realized the darkness, the depression, the anxiety, the moment I was like, all right, this is real. I'm in a dark hole and I don't feel like I could get out. Not this time. I used to be very suicidal. And to be suicidal doesn't mean you're going to commit suicide. Being suicidal can also be just obsessed with the thought of dying, the thought of either killing yourself or the thought of simply dying. You get what I'm saying? So I used to like, the world would be better without me. The depression was becoming a lot. There was this point in 2016 was like my worst year ever. But 2016, I hit a very rough patch. And, I believe it was a lot of things contributing to it. I was probably a little homesick because, I'm not from Miami, but I was down there for school. And then, I felt alone in the world. And then I had a lot of friends in college and everything, but then they'll leave for the summer. So then during the summer, it's just like, my life, what's happening? Like, and you don't even realize how important certain things are. But then it came to a point where they came back, you know, after they were gone for the summer, but I still felt the same. It was bad. It was, I got really sick because, you know, the mind is so powerful that it can also dictate everything else. Like, because my mind was sick, my body started getting sick. You get what I'm saying? I lost a lot of weight. I was eating, but it's like I wasn't eating. I was like becoming shriveled up in life, literally. And I would go to the doctor and be like, hey, what's going on? I'm not okay. People are looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm dropping so much weight so quick. Like, anybody that saw me, they're like, you lost so much weight. And then that made me feel worse. And it's like, I was depressed. I was having anxiety attacks. But them saying that, it was just a bowl of mess. And then the doctor was like, okay, I don't see anything wrong with you. I'm like, am I dying or not? And it became so bad to the point I really thought I was going to die. Like, I went to my little sister. I was staying with her at the time. And I was like, hey, we got to go to the bank. I got to put your name on everything. Like, that's how bad it got. Like, I felt like there was no life for me. I felt horrible. Even thinking about it now, I love the growth I have now and the light I have now, but looking back at it, it's like, man, it was deep. The hole was deep. Sometimes I prayed. I felt like my prayers weren't going past the ceiling. And, you know, and it's just my mind. It all started with my mind. I let my guard down in my mind, and then it caused, like, it was like a whole chaos that happened, like a sliding slope.
What are some ways your mind was working against you?
Okay, first it all started with nightmares. I had nightmares that I was terminally sick, nightmares that I was dying, that just horrible nightmares. That's how it started. And at first I was like, that's weird. But I didn't really think anything of it. But then it's like the nightmares started becoming like, I don't know if this is a word, but daymares. Like, it was like the nightmares were like tumbling in my head during the day. Like,
daydreaming.
Yeah, but it's like not even daydreaming. It's like the horrible negative energy from the nightmares was becoming transversed into the day, into my everyday living, and, you know, into my mind. And then it got to a point where it was like, I was just like, the world would be better without you. You know, just those thoughts. And, you know, those thoughts are not of God. So if it's something that's not of God, you already know. You already know what time it is. But for me, it was so much. I felt like I couldn't fight. I felt like I was going to the point where it's, all right, it's time to tell everybody, like, hey, I'm about to be gone. And then in 2016 is when someone from back home, he passed. He was young. And he died of cancer, you know, rest in peace to him. And I went to his funeral, and all I could think was, dang, I'm next. Which is crazy. It's like, how do you get that from going, you know? But that's how bad the thoughts were. That's the point I'm trying to make. Like, I would go out with friends and everything. It would be good. And then as soon as I go back home, it's kind of like, I don't know, like a cage.
You're like, back with yourself again.
Yeah. It was like, I wasn't okay. And I did not know how to express that to people. I'll talk about it. And even if I talked about it, I still wasn't okay. I prayed about it. And it felt like, I felt like God abandoned me. Just like Jesus was like in the garden and he was like, God, why have you forsaken me? I feel like I got to that point, and then I'm like, then I kept going on with the world would be better without me. I'm worthless. And I got in with the wrong crowd, hanging out with people I have no business hanging out with, which was even worse. And then finally it got to a point where I went to a prayer. Because, you know, I went to Barry University and they're having like a Christian worship night or something like that. So I was like, you know what? And I haven't been going to church. That's another thing. I stopped going to church. I definitely wasn't reading the word. I definitely probably wasn't even praying. It was probably like a, hey, what's up, God? All right, bye type situation. So my spiritual life was definitely on the downslide, the backslide. You get what I'm saying? So then afterwards, I was like, all right, let me just go to this service, check it out. I'm already on campus studying. So I go, and I feel the voice of God say, go over to that woman, she was a pastor, and she was preaching that night. And it's funny because she was preaching about self-worth, and like, she was preaching about suicide. She was saying how like, sometimes you're battling. Basically, she was preaching about me. She was preaching to me. Like, God was using her to speak to me. So basically, that was the whole situation. And then I felt the voice of God say, go over to her. And I was like, what you talking about, God? I'm not finna go over to her. And then it got to a point where it was like, all right, whoever needs prayer, come up. And I was like, and I don't even know if that's really the voice of God. And I was like, I was just like questioning everything. And then God spoke again. He's like, go up to her. And I was like, I'm not going to go up to her. Just being stubborn. That resistance. And then it was a line of people praying for people. But then she became available, and she went like this to me, which was like, oh my God. And then she looked at me. She said, I feel like you're battling something. She was like, God is telling me you have a lot of problem with anxiety. Just like that. I don't know her name. She don't know my name. Nothing. She was like, I feel like you battling a lot. You have problems with anxiety and this and that. She's like, I'm going to pray for you. She was like, you're sick. And then I was like, yeah, I've been having stomach issues, and I just haven't been good at all. And then she was like, I'm going to pray for you. So she prays for me. And then I believe that same night I go home, or the next day, I just become overwhelmed with the presence of God to the point where I could at least try to fight for myself. And I was like, all right, listen up, depression, anxiety, time to have a meeting. Y'all got to get out. Just like that. I prayed a prayer, and I was like, any force, any energy, any spirit that is not of God, get out of my life right now. Ever since then, my life been better. Ever since then, I've been free. And then I called her over the phone, and then she prayed for me again. And then out of nowhere, my mind started getting better. Then my body started getting better again. Then it started working up to where I am now, and sometimes it takes, you gotta command what's not meant for your life out of your life. Just like they say how powerful the tongue is, your words have power.
It does.
Like, just like the Bible say, God gave us dominion over this earth. Like, you get what I'm saying? And it wasn't people praying for me that was gonna do that final pull. Yeah, she did pray for me, but it was making a way for me to gather up because it was my own battle. It was my own thing to fight. And finally, to the point where I mustered up the courage, and I was like, all right, we ain't finna do this no more. I'm not gonna feel like this anymore. And then finally, I didn't even pray. I commanded, and thank God, God gave me the strength to do that. But I was like, you gotta get out. You gotta get out. And then from then on, I've been free, set free.
That's beautiful.
From depression, anxiety.
That's that testimony right there, girl. Girl, you gotta say with all your heart.
Right? About to make me shout on camera.
Come on, girl, shout. We'll have a quick Kurt Franklin session right now.
But God is good. Like,
beautiful. All goes back when you gave good. God control over your life. Exactly. He gave you back control over your mind.
Exactly. Because I wasn't really talking. I wasn't feeding my spirit. I was letting anything run my mind. I lost my position in the battlefield of my mind, and that's what caused the downfall. And then finally, God armored me up, and I took back what was mine.
That's beautiful. Mm-hmm. We're gonna keep it like that. Speaking of that, looking at you in those circumstances, and that wavy, that water, that boat. Mm-hmm. that rocky road, what would be the message that would you tell yourself in that circumstance to help yourself get out of it? What would your message be?
My message for battling depression and anxiety is don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on who you are. Don't feed into it. Don't feed into the thoughts. You're bigger than that. You're gonna make it through. That's why I love the whole thought of the sun setting. That just means there's a new day to be here tomorrow, you know, and the sun rising is new beginnings. Every day is a new beginning. That's why I'd be like, when I'm stressed or whatever from the day before, I'd be like, you know what, I'm gonna leave today and today because tomorrow got its own problems. And that's what the Bible says too. So
tomorrow has its own light.
Never
go into tomorrow expecting problems. You're creating it for your life.
No, you're right. Tomorrow. But you get what I'm saying, though. It's like, do not be overwhelmed by yesterday. That's my whole point. Like, don't do it. It's not worth it. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Just say yes to today.
Right.
How can people get in contact with you, and how can people get your book and all the great things you have to offer?
For my book, you can purchase both on Amazon. You just type in the title of the book, My Black is Beautiful, and then type in my name with it, Mara-Joanne, and then Broken Crayon Still Color. You just type in Broken Crayon Still Color, and then type in my name.
Thank you. Thank you for writing. Thank you for writing. Thank you so much for also expressing all of that. That sense of vulnerability was amazing, and I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's definitely a blessing and an opportunity to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in to the Unlimited Power Show. My name is Edward Giles, and I want to remind you that you have the unlimited power in you to achieve whatever it is that you want, to express whatever it is that you want, to overcome whatever it is that you're going through. And until you believe that you have that power, the world will forever miss all your talents, all your books, all your gifts, all your abilities. Remember, let your light shine, don't hide it, don't dim it. Peace.